Good morning. Wanted to recognize some players from this past week, our scout team players of the week. We had Ray Stewart, defensive scout player of the week. He's doing a great job for us here. Local young man from Bloomington North, he's just working really hard and does an awesome job in practice. Offensive scouts of the week, Jack Greer, Reese Bellum. Special teams scout of the week, Reese Lozano. Also, Bloomington North product, and just all four of those guys just continue to give us great effort and allow us to prepare each week to be able to play on game day. And then players of the game, Cam Camper, offensive player of the game, Lewis Moore, defensive player of the game, and Chris Feeman, the special teams player of the game. Questions?
Yeah, Tom, can you take us through the process after the game? It gets done late. You said it was going to be late night or early morning. What were those kind of 12 to 24 hours like? And, can you take us into the process a little? Was it any different, more film watching or more kind of self-scout? Like, take us through that process if you could.
Yeah, obviously a late finish. So, when you finish a game, you're not like, you can't just turn your brain off, so it takes a while to kind of unwind, and then you watch a few clips. I watched the majority of it in the morning, bright and early, but just talked with some coaches, talked about some things together. Obviously, they want you to get a chance to watch everything, and for me, it's watching both sides of the football. We modified our schedule with our players. Just felt like we just kind of needed to give them a little more, some time. We brought them in, met with them, did some recovery work with them, watched the film together, and then got them out. And so just really, you go through, and we've been going obviously since fall camp. So just thought they needed a little bit of a break. And so, but as a coaching staff, just really go through and you want to break down. Okay, why did we not? On each particular play, was it scheme? Was it the technique that the player was using, or was it just something that he's not good enough at right now, or something that he needs to either improve at, or hey, this is not a good match for his skill set. So try to find out what caused the breakdowns as you go through on the east side of the football and special teams. So obviously you try to identify all those issues, and without question, didn't play to our standard, not acceptable at all in regards to us not finishing drives offensively. In those situations, would have changed the whole complexion of the game if you do. Drop balls, Tamir's lack of focus, and fundamentals of looking the ball in and then running after you catch it to create really momentum-shifting, game-changing plays that hurt you in those situations. And so, and then just talk about like, hey, what do we got to do to make sure that we're, not having not a good. That's because you have 2 weeks in a row where we didn't play in the first half, especially. I thought our defense played well majority of the first half, but didn't play well offensively in the first half, and that's 2 weeks in a row of that. So you feel, okay, well, now you got a pattern of that happening, and so how do you address that, and what changes do you make to be able to, once again, is it one of those 3 areas you go through? So obviously a lot of discussions and adjustments, and obviously still in that mode right now as we get ready for tomorrow's practice.
I guess you talked about just feeling like the team didn't have its whole focus last week. Maybe there was just whether it's an urgency, intensity, whatever word you want to use. And you talked about shaking up the schedule already. What's the balance for you as a coach in terms of maybe trying to inject that, trying to maybe get some of it organic from players in terms of, their own leadership and their own sort of self-motivation, and also maybe not wanting to, I guess, go over the top with it and maybe just have them a little bit too on edge? Sure.
Yeah, I do think there's a balance. I do think there's understanding your team, and but it goes back to kind of what I said as far as why, and I know, I saw the thing on the Big Ten Network where it's been like 16 straight years where a MAC team is beating the Big Ten team, and so this would have been, and by us, finding a way to win in a tough battle that we, found ourselves in. That was the last game for this year. So this is the first time that they haven't beaten the Big Ten team in the last 16 years. So it's obviously something you have to battle against. I think there's a common misperception, of your players sometimes about the different levels. And we fully know as a staff that you don't show up and play your best and you got a chance to get beat. I don't care who you're going to play, especially a team, from that conference that has good enough players, good enough coaches to beat you if you don't play your best, especially if you make mistakes, And so I feel like that getting them to understand that, that's the challenge, And you go through different things, and I gave a lot of different stats before the game, starting on Tuesday, to go through and gave how many, in the last 20 years, there's been 187 group of 5 teams have beaten Power 5 teams. Okay, that's a lot of games that they've won. So just trying to show that, and then still feel like even during the week you're not quite getting the focus that you want. So, players got to understand that, and they got to respond. They got to be ready to play, no matter who you play. And you got opportunities you got to take advantage of. So just disappointed that we didn't have the whole team ready to play at their very, very best. So that's what I expected us to be at, and work to that end during the week, and didn't feel like we got. So now you address that, and you talk about that, and so you kind of, everything you do on Sunday is about getting your minds right, because obviously we understand, we're now back in Big Ten play, so those issues are no longer there in regards to, getting yourself ready to play and understand who you're playing against, but at the same time, you don't want to see a team, not take advantage of an opportunity, and I feel like we didn't, in that situation, because you want to be able to keep growing and building in your preparation approach and how you do things each and every day. So just want our guys to understand the brevity of every situation. You better be ready to play every time you take the field, because a lot of good football teams out there that if you're not at your best, you're going to be disappointed.
Hey, Coach, you talked in the past about how you want your offense to look, kind of its identity. Where do you feel the identity of the offense is right now, and is it anywhere close to what you want it to look like? And if it's not, what needs to change for it to get there?
Yeah, I just think that, as we talked about before, the way that we played, in the second half of Louisville, to me, is what you see is what you want, and I feel like that we got to be able to run the football. Did not do a good job of that at all. Didn't stay on blocks. We got to the right people, but didn't finish them, and that has to change. That's a big area of focus this week, and feel like that want to be able to throw the football effectively. I know we have to. Didn't do as good a job protecting our quarterback. That was kind of multiple groups. It wasn't just up front. It was our running backs. It was our tight ends as well. Didn't do a good job. Did have guys targeted correctly, but didn't finish some of those as well, especially with our backfield blocking. Wasn't near to the standard it needs to be. And so, but that to me is the ability to allow us. We still, made some explosive plays in the throw game, but not near what we should have. And so, to me, you got to be able to, be a team that they can't key on certain things. They got, whether it's formational, personnel, D&D situations, run pass situations. As far as you got to be able to have them, having to react to what you're doing in the moment instead of pre-snap and the things that you have. So to me, we got to be able to be, we just didn't have a rhythm. We didn't play, and it just was obvious. And so we got to obviously get that back. And to me, that's on us as coaches. We got to do a better job getting our guys ready to play, and the play calling itself, and just in terms of matching the strengths of our guys. And that's what I'm saying, because obviously what we did wasn't effective and wasn't good enough, especially down there in the score zone. So to me, that's about being able to score points. And that's right now something we're not doing at a high enough level. And that's what we know we have to do to win in the Big Ten.
Morning, Coach. I'm going to do you a favor just asking this directly, no nonsense. Just Walt Bell's play calling has been a very hot topic in the fan base, obviously. Do you feel the play calling has maximized the potential of this offense through 4 games, and are adjustments needed moving forward?
Well, obviously on Saturday it was not. We did not score points offensively. We did not take advantage of situations offensively, and you can look at different reasons for that. But the bottom line is at the end of the day, it's the job of the offense to score. It's the job of the defense to keep them out of the end zone, And part of that is protecting the football on both sides of the ball, create takeaways on defense. We did have one that we gave away on offense, which hurt us for sure. Defense helped them to a field goal. But at the same time, we're not scoring the points we need to score, without question. So to me, we got to do a better job of that. And so that's everything. It's play calling, it's technique, it's the scheme adjustments, it's everything we need to do to be able to maximize our guys and help us get the ball in the end zone. So at the end of the day, we're performance-based assessment, and we got to perform as players and as coaches. And so the goal is to get the ball in the end zone offensively, and so we can win football games. And so got to get better.
Yeah, hey, Tom, when you look at Maryland, what challenges do you see from them offensively and defensively?
Well, really good football team. Coach Loxley's doing a great job there. They've recruited a lot of good players, got a really good quarterback, one of the best quarterbacks in the Big Ten, obviously as a returning multi-year starter, very experienced, a lot of talent at the receiver position, tight end position, very productive. Their leading receivers are tight end. Their three good running backs, two that we faced last year extensively, and defensively, big and physical. They've always been athletic every year. Played them here for 8 years now, and always one of the most athletic teams we play. That's no different this year. They're creating a lot of takeaways on defense. They've scored a lot of points off takeaways for their offense. So they're playing really complimentary football. They're 4-0 right now, just their first Big Ten win this past weekend, and played really well in East Lansing. So a really good football team, and they play hard, physical, and athletic on both sides of the ball, and then on special teams as well. So definitely a very, very important game for us, big week for us as we get back into Big Ten play and playing a really, really good football team on the road.
Tom, you talked about your film study and the scheme versus the individual execution component to it. Was there a percentage that leaned one way or the other when you studied the film? And regardless, what's the diagnosis for both issues as you go forward?
Yeah, I think the biggest, glaring thing to me was technique and execution as far as being able to finish out the plays. We had some good things called at times we didn't execute. We had, which when even pre-snap, you look at this play and you're like, okay, it should end up good for us, and we didn't execute the play, whether it's poor footwork or finishing the block or being able to make the proper read, so, and then obviously there's times where we feel like, hey, we could have called a better call here, we could have done this better there, and there's a combination of some of those things as well. But to me, I just feel like we got to be locked in, we got to execute. To me, that to me is the focus of what we have to be able to do better, and also just be able to continue to maximize your quarterback's skills and what he does, and help him be able to make the best decisions possible. And so I think just sometimes even limiting some of those things for him can help him as well. I think as the season progresses and you get multiple things that you have to see and adjust to each week as teams begin to game plan against a certain quarterback, that's important for him to be able to do those things. So, but we as coaches have to do a great job of helping him. So it's a combination without question, but I thought the biggest issue was not executing, the calls and being able to, play with the great technique we have to have and the effort we have to finish out the blocks, finish out the plays, and then just, play good football, which obviously wasn't to our standard on offense.
Tom, with the types of focus issues that you've talked about, and this is your first true road game of the season coming up, what sorts of challenges does that present in terms of getting your guys locked in? And could that, the change of scenery maybe benefit your guys in terms of getting them locked back in?
Well, you need to play well on the road, obviously, in order to have success first season. So I think, we obviously had a chance to travel to Indianapolis. It wasn't a long trip, did not get on a plane. We just took a bus there, so we're going to fly to Maryland. So you get this, but once you get there, I think it's a similar feel. So you have the hotel, the walkthroughs, the movements in that setting. So we had a chance to do that together, which is a positive thing. So have a 3:30 kick, so that allows you to kind of get in a good rhythm on game day. So to me, it's just the road's the road. It's I think it can bring teams together. You have a great chance to really bond on these trips and be able to continue to build your team and build the chemistry and the connections of your guys. So I look forward to road trips. I know it's obviously challenging to play on the road. You got the noise level of different stadiums that becomes a variable and a factor for offenses, on the road, and to be able to communicate effectively. So just going to do a great job preparing for that, handling that, and obviously with having a young quarterback would be more specifically to be able to have him ready for those environments, which is important. So definitely looking forward to this opportunity without question, and excited for our guys to come back tomorrow to be really ready to have a great week of preparation. And so to me, the focus is, should not be an issue. Obviously, we're back into Big Ten play and playing against the Big Ten teams the rest of the way. So I know that our guys understand where we're at, what we need to do, and just rely on your leadership for your guys to be able to help us travel well and be really, really good on the road.
Coming from your defensive background, I think Lewis Moore said Saturday night that there were a lot of lessons that Indiana could take from that performance against Akron. How have you kind of seen them respond in these next 48 hours with regards to the evaluation of that performance?
Yeah, I just think there's first of all, when you think about your team and how you build your team, you look for in those moments when things aren't going the way you expected them to go. Especially that kind of a game. So you always know when you play a team like that you're favored against, as the game progresses and they still hang around, you see their sideline energy increase, and then the energy of the team that's supposed to win, it kind of like everybody's looking around each other like, what's going on here? So to be able to learn from how do you handle those situations? What are guys saying on the sideline? And we had a lot of strong verbal confirmation from our older guys and experienced guys that how to respond the right way, which I thought was very positive. And then you got some younger guys still trying to figure that out, So I'm even talked to one of our younger safeties as they were driving there at the end to try and get that last field goal about playing every snap to the final whistle, go ready to block a kick and all those different things. And so you learn and say, how do you handle that? And you learn to believe when you make it through a 4 overtime game that, hey, you just stay the course. No matter how we got here, we got to find a way to finish. And man, you learn a lot of great things about your team and the ability to be resilient, the ability to stay locked in and to keep believing in what you're doing and find a way. Because you think about it, in those overtime periods, you had all 3 phases made a big play. We had a huge kick by Chris Freeman. That was, in order to keep the game going, was huge for him. And then you had a huge, 2-point play that we executed correctly to be able to win the game, and then the defense had to go out there and get a stop in that situation. So all 3 phases had to come together. When you're fatigued, you played for a long time, especially all the snaps we played on defense for obvious reasons. And so how are you going to be able to bow up? So you learn from those things, and you be able to dig deep and have to execute in those moments. So you're just teaching all the time. You're teaching yesterday, you're teaching in those moments, and you got to learn from that. And you also got to learn, hey, when things aren't going your way offensively, how do you guys respond when you get your chance to go out there and finish off a game? What are you going to do? And so to me, much to learn, got to grow from it. We're still young in our season. Got to get our guys and our leaders to be able to, and I thought even on offense, especially up front, guys, saying the right things, trying to keep the guys together, stay focused, stay locked in, and just to kind of, hey, we got to come back and do it again and try to find a way to get this self-corrected during the game. So obviously didn't get what we needed, for the majority of the game, but obviously made a play at the end to be able to help us win. So you still have to find a way to win a football game, which isn't easy to do. We made it way harder than it needed to be, but also respect for them. And at the same time, what do we got to do to make sure we keep growing and getting better as a football team?
DJ Irons had a lot of big scrambles against you guys. Obviously, he's a really talented quarterback, and there's no perfect defensive answer for dual threat quarterback who can create plays like that. But after 2 weeks in a row where that QB scrambles kind of really hurt you, what's like the coaching point to try and make sure that doesn't happen?
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, you bring up a great point. It's going to be a huge emphasis this week. We're playing the third one. That's going to be very, very elusive. He hasn't been sacked very many times, and because he's hard to get on the ground. We've played him the last couple of years and know it full well. And so, yeah, we got to specifically drill. We're going to do some things specifically in drill work, as a defense to be able to work through this. I got to do a great job simulating that. Going to make some adjustments schematically because obviously some things we've been doing to put a little more stress on that and not giving us a chance to be as effective. So we're going to make some adjustments there, which we need to make. But bottom line is, you're right. I mean, that's when a quarterback breaks containment like that. That's when everything. Whether him running it or, and obviously Irons had the ability has the speed to get down the field and hurt you in a big way. And so does the one we're playing this week. So I just think that we got to do a better job schematically, and I think we also got to do a better job practicing it specifically, So obviously you work through it all, but it's got to be a specific thing we're working on, and it is going to be this week because obviously it's hasn't been one of our strengths the last 2 weeks, and it's going to have to be on Saturday.
The most interceptions you've had in 1 year is 4, I believe, in 2020. You have Phillip with 3 right now. How would you evaluate his start? And as you reflect on his recruitment process, is this kind of the presence you thought he could maybe evolve into, or is this kind of earlier than maybe where you even thought he could eventually reach?
Yeah, he leads the Big Ten in interceptions and is doing a great job. He's obviously a young player. I definitely believed he was a talented player coming out of high school. Felt like we got kind of a little bit of a diamond in the rough kind of kid that wasn't maybe recruited to the level that I thought he should have been, and that was to our benefit, because some people overlooked him, but he was a really talented receiver. That's kind of the common denominator between he and Lewis Moore. Both those guys were receivers also in high school, and the ball skills that you have to be a receiver and understanding the tracking of the football and playing the football, and being able to make just good hands catches, and he has good hands, but he also has great instincts, so thought he had a chance to be really talented without question. He was light. coming out of high school. We knew we needed to get some weight on him. That was a knock on him, being a little thin. But at the same time, we knew once we get him here and part of the whole training cycle and all the meals you're going to get and all the food you're going to get and all the nutritional supplements you get to be able to help you develop your weight. So he needed to develop, and so played him last year. Had big expectations for him. I thought he was going to be a really good player, and he's on schedule to me to be able to keep building. He's got a lot of work to do. Still got to work on a lot of things to get better, but he's making game-changing plays for us, and you get takeaways. It's how you win games. It's the reason why we won the game on Saturday night.
Yeah, you mentioned like some of the focus yesterday was like getting the players' minds right heading into this week of practice. I guess what does that look like specifically, and what are you looking for this week in practice where you can say that, this is a tangible difference from what you're seeing in preparation and just kind of their focus compared to last week?
Yeah, I think that we actually made a change in our schedule prior to the season, and I think this week was a great reason why you do that, and that is to be with our team on Sundays. You have different ways of doing it. Sometimes you give them Sunday off, sometimes you get them Monday off, and people do it differently, and we've done it both ways here. But I just felt like with as many young guys as we have and as many new guys that we have, we need to be with them the day after the game, good or bad. And so this was a situation where I just felt like when the team comes into the team room to meet the day after the game, it was, they needed to be talked to in a certain way. And I felt like that you could just see as the meeting progressed, just the change, the positive change in look in the eye and the mindset. Because, you kind of, it was not the kind of game that you wanted it to be. And you feel a certain way after games like that, And so there was, needed to be challenged, motivated in a way to be able to understand, why that happened. And my thing for those Sunday meetings is I try and get their honest feedback. I want them to talk to me, and I want to know what they're thinking right in that moment. And then it just kind of goes from there. And so really was very encouraged by the way the meeting finished and the look in our guys' eyes. And so to the second part of your question, what I expect is a very highly focused, very intense, best week of practice of the season this week. And that obviously begins tomorrow, begins this evening as we start to feed information to our guys, via their phones to get them the information they need to be able to continue to prepare for prepare for Maryland. And so, but to me, I really expect us to have a really, really good week of practice. Physical, high energy, great focus, and great attention to the execution of the game plan. So we got to do a great job as coaches. We're doing that right now as we speak, getting our game plans together, put our guys in the best position to play because we're playing a really good football team on the road.
Yeah, Tom, you mentioned the snap counts for the defense, and I know the game was long, but I think you had like 8 players play more than 80 snaps. Any concern about I'm trying to maybe rotate a little more, and I know thin at cornerback. Any concern about the depth sort of there?
Yeah, great question. So I felt like we played, and we said this first thing in the morning when I saw the numbers, because sometimes in the game you kind of don't know exactly how many snaps a guy plays, but we had too many guys playing too many snaps. We didn't play enough guys at certain positions. I want to see us play more guys at linebacker, more guys in the secondary. Talking to those coaches, I understand there was different reasons for that. Got some guys dinged up at corner, as you mentioned. So, but the play count was too high just because of the nature of the game in terms of defensively, and it hasn't been that way all season. So when you say concern, it's just we got to play more guys. And that to me is the expectation, and get more guys ready to play, more rotation up front on the defensive line. I want to see a few of those guys play more snaps, have some guys snaps go down, other guys snaps go up, and then continue to add more guys to the arsenal to help us play, because that helps them obviously late in the game. So, but I will say, as many snaps some of those guys played, for them to be able to finish the way they did with the energy that they had was impressive. It means they're in really good shape. But at the same time, I don't want them to have to be doing that each week. But so yeah, the goal is to have play more players and be able to do a great job of keeping the snap counts down by us staying on the field more on offense and also getting off the field on defense. That's part of their job as well to eliminate longer drives. So, but the bottom line is team effort on that, and that includes the coaches of playing more guys and getting more guys ready to play. Awesome. Have a great day, Elio.